that responsibility for yourself and your life is such a huge thing. It's like if I don't stream today just because I feel shitty, like that means my income is going to be less for the month. Like I just do it. Like you have to really push yourself, and you've got to have that like that mindset. Like it's all up to you. Like it's not anyone else's fault if you don't make it. Like it's you. It's your time. It's your effort.
Nice. All right, welcome back to the Stepping Up podcast. Today we have our first guest ever. It is Sarah, which is fantastic. Sarah Jane. She is a partnered Twitch streamer. Brett, welcome back.
Thank you.
Sarah, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Sarah Jane, Twitch partner, content creator. Been streaming for about 4 years now. It's been a big journey, ups and downs across the road. But yeah, I love what I do. I do what I do to connect with like-minded people, bring people together, and help people through their own journeys. Where did I start? I think it can be a long story or a short story.
Either way, we're happy with either.
The long story is more like after leaving high school, I never really felt that there was really anything for me.
Yep.
I'm a very creative person. I'm good with connecting with people, and all I wanted to do was just draw, like create. Like I just love creating things, and this was like an opportunity to connect with people and to kind of create at the same time. So like my background, I did like a lot of video editing. I played games on the side.
Mm-hmm.
I was a gymnastics coach. So like being able to like help people through that. And then I kind of had to make that big decision, like, what did I want to do? And I was watching a lot of Twitch streamers at the time, and, I could see people connecting with the chat, getting to do something that they love doing, and bringing people together. I was like, hey, like, I think I can do this. Like, this is probably something for me, and maybe this is what I'm meant to do, because, when you go through school, it's like, you need to go to university, you need to do this, you need to study this, and, go do that 9-to-5 job. And I just knew, I was like, that's not for me. Like that's not what I want to do. Like I didn't want to live a life that just didn't feel like what I was doing like meant anything. I was just working for these huge companies that like I was just helping them out, and I don't know. It was yeah. So when I found out about Twitch and streaming and all this stuff and bringing people together, I was like, hey, I'm going to give this a go and see what happens. And then I kind of became really obsessed with it.
It is
and
addictive.
kind of
it's
try to
one of the most addictive
yeah.
platforms I've ever been on in my life, I think.
Yeah, and I was just like, I just want to learn more. Like, how can I get better at this? Or like, who can I learn from? What should I be doing? How can I, reach out to more people?
Yeah.
And streaming and Twitch is, for some of us, me, quite a new thing. You've been on it for a while. Why did you guys sort of move to Twitch? What was it about Twitch that you liked? And when you started 4 years ago, what was happening on there, and how's it sort of changed since then?
Yeah.
That's
okay.
a
Well,
question in itself.
Twitch. I think I was drawn to Twitch because I like fell in love with creators that were creating on there. So it was kind of like they influenced me to go to Twitch. I think Mixer was another big like streaming platform at the time, but they like crushed. So I'm really glad that I did choose Twitch. And now we've got like YouTube, like live streaming and gaming like on the rise. And the thing that YouTube doesn't really have yet is that solid community. Like Twitch has this community that people go there to make friends, connect with people. Where YouTube, I think people still really see YouTube as like, I'm gonna just go there for like VODs.
Yeah, and just kind of
like other stuff.
Like cycle through things in their own time rather than be there for the live experience.
So I think, sorry.
Oh yeah, so I was gonna say just for me, my personal reason that I chose Twitch was it was the first platform that ever came about that gave you access to your favorite creator in real time. So you feel connected to that person, and there's been this whole topic about parasocial relationships that have come up since, where you feel like the creator's your friend, but they don't really know who you are. And that's kind of a negative downside of it. That's a whole nother thing. But it was just that interaction. It was that interconnectivity, and like Sarah said, not feeling a part of being like a kind of the weird kid in high school or whatever. It gives you like somewhere to go. It was these amazing people that were like doing these really creative things. That was my reason for going to Twitch anyway.
Yeah, it just felt Twitch felt really welcoming, I think, as well. And like not really scary, because I think you got to see like a lot of people trying as well. Like there's so many new streamers out there like trying to like do this thing. So you're like, hey, like everyone else is giving it a go. Like I feel okay to give it a go as well. And like, you know, we'll just see how it goes. So yeah, it's much more welcoming, I think, as well.
Yeah, and where does it fit now in the world of social media and streaming? Everything you've got, obviously you talk about YouTube, you've got TikTok, there's Twitch. Where does it all fit?
Twitch
Yeah, I
specifically?
think.
Yeah.
I'll let Sarah go first. She's the
Yeah,
more successful one.
No, I think this is really like a good question. Twitch is like I saw is on the rise. Like obviously there's competition with YouTube now, and there has been I think more watch time on YouTube, but I don't know if that's included like with the VOD content. But you have had like I think the most successful like female streamer Valkyrie. She actually streams on YouTube. But you've still got like the likes of XQC on Twitch that is also like so well. Like it's so hard to say. It's so hard to kind of put it in like its place. But like Twitter and like Twitch usually go hand in hand. So if you have like an influencer on Twitch, they usually have like a Twitter account, and people that are on Twitter are most likely then like using Twitch or like. But you'd see like probably a disconnect on like say Facebook. If you've got Facebook users, they're probably not as likely to have a Twitch account. Same with like TikTok. There's more conversion happening now, but at the start, like, you know, TikTok was kind of its own thing, but now there's a lot of influencers using TikTok, and we're getting a lot of streamers using TikTok, and then more people coming over to Twitch from TikTok. So there's like interconnectivity there. So yeah.
And what about Twitch with things like, you know, obviously you mentioned Twitter and the similarities there, or the fact that people jump between Twitter and Twitch. Does Twitch have that issue of limiting speech and content that Twitter seems to want to do?
Not as much. Not to the same extent. Not to the censorship that you're speaking to, because it's all live streamed and there is as many people streaming as there are watching on Twitch. It can't be moderated as well. So smaller streamers, definitely the higher tier streamers are too afraid to say anything.
Mm-hmm.
So there is that just like social pressure of limited speech. But it's not the same as YouTube, where they'll just tear you down for saying the wrong thing. You know what I mean? That isn't in line with whichever government they're happy with that day.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I think Twitter, you'll see like a lot more happening, a lot more like different varieties of content, like, you know, people posting clips, posting pictures as well, or like Twitter is more like for discussion. So if someone wants to like, you know, ask a question to the community, or if they have a strong opinion about something, that usually comes out really well on Twitter, where depending on like the creator, like, cause some creators on Twitch are all about like just chatting and talking about like things that are really important, and you know, their opinions and like even politics and stuff like that.
Yeah, like
but then you also have creators.
Hassan's a big politics streamer.
Yeah, so you definitely have those like in-depth discussions also on Twitch, but then you also have the streamers that are very like game focused, or like, you know, competitive, or like educational inside the games and stuff like that. So yeah, the variety is huge. Like what people do on Twitch goes from, I know people doing fundraisers on like the animal rescue, and they literally just have a 24-hour live stream of their cat rescue, and that's how they get donations and funding. And then you have and then you literally have esports, like professionals, and then you have people talking about politics and mental health. Like the variety is just like there's no end. There's cooking streams, like everything.
The community on Twitch is definitely the best. They've got it hands down, by far the best. It's just the company itself really doesn't have about the community whatsoever. There's been a lot of introductions over the last 2 years since I've started streaming properly, or on and off, that have just been like a really big kick in the nuts to the creators. So they already take 50% commission on subs, which I think it's the highest. You probably know better than me, Sarah, out of any platform.
Yeah, so even partners, there's 50% cut on your Twitch subs.
Yeah.
So like even the initiative to like get partner is a bit like, okay, I have a tick, but like now what? You know, like you still have to go about your own ways of monetization. Like there's no way I could live by just my Twitch revenue. There's no chance. Like from like where I'm at, and that's me streaming consistently for 4 years.
And you're at, like you're at a good, and it's probably good to speak to that, because there are people that have 20, 30 viewers like myself. That, I mean, there was one period where I said to my family, I was like, I'm gonna quit my job and I'm gonna become a Twitch streamer, and I learned the reality of that pretty quickly. Like if I didn't find other ways to monetize other things, I would have been dead in the water. So if you can speak to that, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you kind of have to do that. Like, that's something I did as well. Like, I went through a really, like, hard time, and I quit my job, and I moved back to my mum's house, and I was like, Mum, I just want to stream. Like, that's all I want to do. I just want to do this. And she, like, every day, she'd, like, come knocking on the door. Yeah, you're going to look for a job. Like, you're going to look for a job. I'm like, Mum, like, this is my job. And then, like, but over time, I was just proving to her, like, Mum, like, come have a look at this. Look, I'm earning literally as much as I was at my old job.
Yeah.
So once she saw that, she was like, oh, okay. And I'm like, Mum, I moved to Melbourne now. She's like, oh,
okay.
Okay. But no, she was very supportive, but she was obviously worried. It was more just like a worry, like, you know, are you sure this is like what you want to do and all this stuff? I was like, yes.
Yeah, can you speak to that from
like,
a parent's side, Brett?
Yeah, I think, well, look, I know as much, clearly from what the questions I've already asked, I know that much about Twitch, so I don't know a lot about it. I don't understand a lot of it, but I think from a parent's point of view, it's obviously anything new like that, the new industries that are coming through, whether it be, you know, community management or all of these new sort of roles and streaming and all the rest of it. It's hard to understand, you know, career. It's hard to understand longevity, and it's also and it's also, I think, the thing that makes our generation nervous about it all is just how volatile it is as well. So
it is very volatile, yeah.
And there's no consistency necessarily to it if you're, you know, not fully in it. So it's all of those things just add up. So from a parent point of view, with a child doing it, one makes a living out of it, it's like, I'd imagine it's much like if, you know, if someone kid comes here and says I want to be an actor, it's like that's a lot of hard work and a lot of years of not making money, you know.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's it. Yeah, a lot of years of not making money, and I think that's what I feel like when that's how any like beautiful thing kind of starts, though, right? It's like you got to put those like years of living off of baked beans and like living at parents' house with a minimal income until you like kind of see a step up. You're like, oh, I can move out now, maybe. But I actually had a take on that. So like, I think something that I was so grateful for was like COVID, right? I had friends losing their jobs, people not being able to work, not being able to like have an income. And here I was still being able to work, still having a solid income. If anything, my income like increased a bit because people were watching me more. They were stuck at home. I was entertainment, and they were really thankful for that. So I definitely feel like, you know, kind of doing that entrepreneur kind of like working for yourself is still like one of the safest ways like to kind of live, because you're not relying on anyone else to like give you a job or like pay you. Like it's all up to you. And I think having that responsibility for yourself and your life is such a huge thing. It's like if I don't stream today just because I feel shitty, like that means my income is going to be less for the month. Like I just do it. Like you have to really push yourself, and you've got to have that like that mindset. Like it's all up to you. Like it's not anyone else's fault if you don't make it. Like it's you. It's your time. It's your effort.
That's something that's really transferable about like kind of how we talk in our family. Sarah, is a book that we kind of not live by, but a book that me and Brett both love called Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins, and he's
I know David Goggins.
We're massive Goggins fans, and we kind of do that push through mentality that you have, or at least I'm trying to learn it myself. I'm not the best at it yet, but it's definitely something I've been exploring. But
next time,
it's interesting to see, and what I really wanted to show by having you on, because we're gonna have a variety of different guests across pretty much everything that we can think of. Is there
nice.
It does translate across various things, and for you it's getting up and streaming when you feel like shit.
Yep.
I think it's really true, and I think what you reflected is any entrepreneurial, business, any entrepreneur out there, anyone just starting, it's exactly that. You've got to keep getting up every day when you don't feel like it, and keep doing it if that's what you want to do. And that resilience that you've built up over the time doing that's going to help you no matter what you want to do in life moving forward, which is really
Definitely.
cool. But so how many hours do you stream these days?
5 days a week for about 5 hours a stream at the moment, and then in between of not streams is like video editing, networking, connecting with people, posting stuff on other social media platforms, just trying to like get yourself out there in the world, because everyone knows that Twitch is pretty awful for discoverability. It's still a huge problem that Twitch has. So if we're not uploading like onto YouTube or like TikTok, Instagram, like being active on Twitter, like no one's gonna know who you are. And building relationships and lifting people up is like I think that's like most important thing for like newer creators on Twitch, is to like become a part of different communities and let people know who you are and like what you're about before like anything else, really.
So you are just constantly doing something to move you forward in terms of your streaming and your work in terms of building profile and finding content and all that sort of thing. It's just a constant role for you. It's just to keep looking and finding and creating.
Yeah. Essentially, yeah. And then on my scheduled days off of streaming, some days I have to. Well, recently I started ice skating to actually make myself get away from my computer to stop working, because I literally just every day come sit at my computer and just work or like network or just do something to do with streaming, and it was very draining. But I couldn't detach myself from it. And then if I wasn't doing any work, then I felt like I was being useless, or like I wasn't using my time like correctly. I kind of felt like I didn't deserve to have time away from not working, because I'm still not really at that place where I want to be. So that's why I was like, I'm just gonna. Well, I was talking to my mom about it. She's like, you need to branch out, do something else. I'm like, okay. Yeah, go touch grass, touch ice in this case. But yeah, no, and that's been really helpful for me as well, to actually kind of have that disconnect from the internet space, because it was like I was feeling a lot was kind of forgetting myself offline. Who am I in the real world to like who I am online? Like I'm the same person, but it just felt like there was this huge disconnect, because I've just been spending so much time in this space, especially because of COVID as well. So yeah, I think it's really important to have.
It's really
that,
interesting
like,
that you talked about you had a scheduled days off, which I think is really, really good. So you're trying to keep a very clear, place between work and getting away and doing that, which is really interesting. And I think that's really interesting that you've actually done that. And I think looking at the people that I know that stream a lot, that balance doesn't really exist a lot of the times, and you can see that it really does affect them mentally and physically as well.
Yeah, I think
that's what I've always admired Sarah for. It'll be the one nice compliment I've said, is it's always been very professional, like rigid, whereas mine's chaotic at best. That's the easiest way to put it.
Yeah, I think for me as well, like I'm a very introverted person, so there's many days where I just don't want to be online and I don't want to be talking to people. Like, so yeah, there's literally days where I'm like, I just don't want to be online. Like, I just want to be away from the computer, and I just want to go. Like, I love nature. I love going out for walks. I love just being with my animals. Like, so just having that time away from the internet world is like, I need that a lot to actually keep doing what I'm doing. Like, I love what I do, but there's definitely days where I'm just like, I just don't want to talk to anyone.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's what a lot of people forget, particularly when they're sort of starting out, or they found something and they forget that you've still got to have that balance in life. You've got to be immersed 100% in what you want to do, and you've got to be constantly working on it all the time. But you do need that break where you get away and you can recharge and have a day or two where you just stop,
recharge,
rest and recover, and then go hard again. So it's really, really important to find that balance in life. And I think a lot of people, when they listen to a lot of things, or they see a lot of people who are, very, very successful or entrepreneurial, and they keep talking about pushing and grinding and all the rest of it, but they all do it, and they all have to do it, but they do find, and they don't talk enough about finding that time just to recharge and get a little space between it, so you can just mentally have a break, so you can come back stronger the next day or whatever it is.
I feel like your thought process is better, like once you come away from it too, because there's literally been days where I'm like trying to force myself to work, and I literally sit here, I get nothing done, and just give myself a headache. I'm like, I've literally just wasted time. Yeah,
it's like from my experience when I was doing it regularly, when I was actually giving it a real crack, and I was doing everything you're supposed to, which I don't anymore. I just love this podcast and doing other things now, but when I was doing it like pretty much every day, giving it a red hot crack, it was just I'd go so hard for like 2 weeks, and then burn out for a week, and go hard again for another 2 weeks, and it's just this constant up and down that me and Brett have talked about all the times, where it's just kind of like a roller coaster. That's kind of, I guess, why he's speaking to the needing the breaks and kind of like chilling out a little bit.
Yeah. I think something that like keeps me going as well is like, for the days where like you start to feel burnt out, there's something called like being on self or being on purpose. I don't know if you guys have heard of that saying. So like, you can be on self, and it's like you're thinking about how you're feeling, and, how you're feeling essentially. And then there's like being on purpose, which is like, why do I do this? Like, what is the importance behind the stream? Like I get to connect with these people and possibly help them today, make them smile, make them laugh. Like that is the purpose, and that's something that like gives you the motivation to be like, oh no, I can go again. Like I can keep doing this because I'm not so self-absorbed in like how I'm feeling. I'm actually thinking about them and what they need and how I can cater to them. And then that's when you need those like off days to then recharge your battery. And then that's when you can be on self, is on those days off. But on the days where you're supposed to be working, be on purpose, think of them. Don't be so self-absorbed in like how you're feeling. And, there's bigger things happening in the world than like feeling tired or groggy,
That's so
absolutely. I think if you've got a really clear why like that, then it makes it easy to get up on those days as well. If you're very clear about why you're doing it, then it certainly makes it easier about. And that, and that's the same in everywhere with life. If you've got a clear direction, a clear why you're doing stuff, makes life so much easier. And that's one of the first things people should do, I think, when they get to a certain point, or whether it's a new role or a new career, or just trying to work out what they want to do, really try and work out why. And that's, if they can get that, then it drives you, all the time.
Yeah, you hear a lot of like parents, why they do something. It's like, it's for my kids. Like, I'm doing this for my kids so they can have a good education, so that they can go to a good school, and that's their purpose, to like do what they have to do. But for me, it's to help people that have gone like through stuff that I've gone through, or people that feel that they may not have like a purpose in this world, and they need a community. They feel lonely, or even my why is so that I can, eventually earn more money and have a nice house, and be able to, in the future, be a stay-at-home mom, and being able to, raise my kids, work from home, instead of working 9 to 5, putting kids in daycare. Like, I don't want to do that. Like, I want to be there with them. So like that is also like, I feel like I have a lot of whys, and I think that's what keeps me going quite hard.
It's fantastic. And have you seen things like, you talk about community and just the different things that have happened, because you've been doing it for 4 years, COVID came in. How have you seen, from your community point of view, people reacting differently, or has that been changing? And have you had to, how you help people, has that changed over the last couple of years because of COVID and everything else that's going on?
Yeah, sort of. I feel like the message that I've kind of always portrayed is more to do like, mental health, depression, anxiety, sort of thing. And there was a lot more people feeling that isolation, feeling that depression, being stuck at home and not being able to see their family and friends. So that definitely an increase of people needing support during this time. But I feel like the message has never really changed, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. And did you see? Obviously, there was a lot more people moved to these sorts of platforms over COVID.
So much more.
Obviously, a lot more people coming through. Did now that COVID's starting to sort of fade out a little bit, are you saying see people have used it for what they needed and leaving, or are people staying now because they found their community, they found their people, and they're enjoying it?
I have an answer, but I'd be curious to hear Sarah's answer.
I've seen people drop off. I see a lot of people drop off. Like I'll find a new creator and I'll be like, because I like supporting new creators as well, you know, and I talk to them about their brand and like what they want to like be known for. Like that's the biggest question, you know. If someone hears your name, what's the next thing that they're gonna think in their head? Like what's that thing? So like I help people with that, but yeah, a lot of people are just very inconsistent, very much like it's like they don't have that real purpose to stream. They'll kind of just stream for themselves to like feel connected with people, and then once they were able to go back into like the real world, then they're kind of done with Twitch, if that makes sense.
This guy. No, I still like Twitch. I'm going back into it. Whereas my car crash more regular. I think I've streamed more hours in the last 2 months than I have in the last 6. But from a viewer standpoint, I know that a lot of people have come to Twitch during lockdowns, and like people that are part of my community that like I've made lifelong friends and that I'm going to meet up with in like a couple of months, and then we've got a big one next year. And I mean, I've met Sarah before in real life, and I've met so many people, right? But they aren't coming to Twitch as much as they used to, because watching a stream takes a lot of time. You're waiting for a potential moment to happen. It's not there like it is in YouTube or TikTok, and it's not quick digestible content. So I've seen a lot of viewers drop off, but I don't know the actual numbers of Twitch as a whole. I'm assuming it's still growing, but just in the circles I've seen from that.
It's very up and down, Twitch. Yeah. Very, very up and down, especially with like events or new games, like stuff that's actually happening in the world. Like I feel like Twitch fluctuates with the world and like what is happening, and game releases, it's like news, I can't remember, there was like some famous person that started streaming on Twitch, and then because that one famous person was streaming, it actually brought like their whole community over to Twitch who'd never even heard of Twitch before. So like there's all these random things that happen that like make Twitch like blow up for a little bit, and then it kind of goes back to its like regulars, and then something else will happen and blows up again. Yeah.
I'll put my parent hat on then. My question, how do you deal with that then in terms of trying to make a living out of it? Because obviously you're ebbing and flowing, and I guess you ebb and flow with a lot of things in life, but obviously when it's Twitch like that and it's quite reactive, how do you really get consistency in your from a business point of view?
Yeah. So I cannot rely on Twitch subscription. Like where I'm at, like there are some creators that can rely on their subscriptions, but where I am, no. Like I have an agent that works with me, and we get like sponsorship deals. I like will play a game on stream for X amount of hours, like get paid for that sort of work. I do stream coaching on the side as well. I also do like affiliate programs, or like I have a lock-in contract with like ESL at the moment. So like there's different things that I can get paid for that's not Twitch. It's not just Twitch. It's coming from other sources. And if it wasn't for those other sources, then like I would have to go like work at a cafe as well, or something. Like I'd have to go do something else. Like or like I'd have a second like side project. But I always hear that it's really hard to try and do two things, because
it is. I can speak from experience.
You need to put everything in one.
Trying to do Twitch and something else is really, really hard, and something that I've like really struggled with, especially because like on the money side of things, like obviously you need to do something extra. So when I got my full-time job in November or October or whatever, I wanted to do Twitch as well, but I was putting in all my creative effort into marketing and things like that, and then I was like, I'm also always been an events kind of streamer kind of guy, and just chatting. So trying to the leftover brain I had for that was way reduced. I got burnt out a lot quicker. I couldn't do consistent hours. So I don't know. I'm props to the people that can do it both, because it's just
Yeah, I can't.
really can't. Yeah.
I wish I could do something else, but there's a really good book on that. It's called The One Thing, and it's about literally just focusing on one thing and making it the best it freaking can be, and just like there is no like plan B. It's all plan A. You just put everything into that plan A.
I think that's the thing they say, is if you've got a plan B, you always end up using plan B, you know, and that's the problem with it. You've got to be all in if you're going to if you really believe in it and you really want to make it go. You've got to be all in. Even if you give yourself a finite time to get out, you've just got to really give it a go. Otherwise,
there are people that do that with Twitch that have been really successful, that have gone, I need to be big by December in 2 years, for example, and they put everything they've got, their whole life, into that amount of time, and they do really well. That is a really interesting thing. What's that book called again? The One Thing. Do you know who it's by?
The One Thing. Yeah. Was it Seth Godin? Give me a sec. The One Thing. Where is it? Oh, Gary Keller, I think. Is it? Yeah, Gary Keller.
All right, I'll have to read that myself, because that sounds like one that I need to listen to personally.
Yeah, no, really good book.
Yeah.
I can't read, so I listen to audio.
I'm the same.
Audio books. I mean, I could read, but I really struggle to read. So literally getting Audible subscription was the best thing I ever did. I literally hadn't read a book in I didn't even read books in high school. Like when they tried to make me read books in high school, couldn't do it. So I literally can't remember last time I read a book, and then I got Audible, and I think I listened to like 5 books in 3 months.
Yeah,
so
really
which was
good.
insane.
That's really good. I know that you knew you were going to get asked about it, but you were really well known for playing Overwatch, a specific game.
Yeah.
And because you were very solid in that community, and your partner that I went to school with, also very solid in that community, and then that game kind of just died off, and that company died off as well. So if you want to talk about that transition and maybe some of the mental side of things around that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it was a really difficult decision. Because it was pretty much like, because that's what I was known for. Like, people thought of me, they knew my name. I was on Blizzard Launcher. I was a part of an esports team that had like Overwatch Contenders team. Like, that's what people knew me for.
Yeah, that's what I knew you for.
Here I was. Yeah. So like, here I was like pushing myself like 5-6 days a week, like streaming this game. And then I just got to a point and I was like, why am I doing this? Like, I lost that why. I lost the why. And it was like, I'm doing this because I feel like I have to. Like, it wasn't because I wanted to. It was, it felt like it was something I had to do. And I remember there was just days I was just lying on the floor, just like, I just don't want to do this. Like, I just want to lie on the floor with my cats. Like, I don't want to play this game. Like, the many reasons why. Like, because I was getting more well known, there was more people like, toxicity, people telling me I'm bad at the game. Like, everyone knows about that, right? Like, you're getting inflamed, like people stream sniping me, like getting into my games, or like I would finally get to like the rank that I was like working on to getting, and then people throwing my games or like telling me I've been boosted or like all this stuff.
Really
just like, okay, like, and then so I was just like, and then I just ended up making new accounts and then like leveling them up. And it was just this constant like repeat of making new accounts and getting to like Diamond Masters and then making another new account and doing that again, just because I didn't want to get stuck in that. Yeah. So I was like, why am I doing this? And then it got to a point like I don't even care about my rank anymore because of this process that was happening. And then as soon as I started caring about my ability in the game to actually like get good and do well, that's when I was like, what's the point? Like, what's the point in this? And I was all for community back then too, but so I ran a lot of community events, like, doing tournaments, like with Blizzard. So like I'd work with Blizzard and we'd run like community tournaments. Yeah, it was good. No, I think that was the highlight.
Okay, that's good. That's the first person I've spoken to that's had the positive experience with Blizzard.
Yeah, no. The community manager that I spoke with, lovely. Like she, a beautiful person. And when there was a lot of that stuff happening with Blizzard over in the US, she was very upset. It was a very upsetting time for them because I feel like the people here in the ANZ team, like it didn't reflect onto them. Like I mean, it was being reflected onto them, but that's not how they are. Like as their team in Australia. So it was very, very upsetting for them. And like I was on like in a phone call with her, and she was just
I could imagine.
yeah, like really, really upset because they were fully gonna back us up with this tournament, but then they felt that they had to step down because they didn't want to tarnish this community tournament essentially. But they still supported like me through it all. But they just didn't want their name on it essentially.
That's fair at the time, because I briefly gave Brett a rundown of what happened with Blizzard. But for our listeners that have no idea about gaming, and correct me if I'm wrong, Sarah, but it was there was a lot of workplace misconduct, sexual assault allegations. There was a really bad workplace bullying culture, and then they ended up getting investigated by the state of California. So it was really dark stuff. And as I was explaining to Brett in the elevator on the way here, it was as close to the Wolf of Wall Street office as you could get.
Yeah, essentially, really upsetting because like when I first like started playing Blizzard games, I was like, man, I'd love to work for Blizzard. You know what I mean? Because it's like exactly you know they make my favorite games, right? Like someone I want to work for, but and it was cool that I got to do that stuff with them, but I'm grateful it was with like the ANZ team, like the Australian New Zealand team, and not the US side. But yeah, it was really sad. Like I was really upset to hear it all because a lot of people like said like I'm not playing the games anymore. People were just full anti like Blizzard games. Where I was still like no, like guys, like this isn't really fair because like even because when I played Overwatch, like the Overwatch team wasn't really involved with the stuff that was happening, so it's like this whole game has been tarnished just because of the higher ups like in the company and stuff. But like you know the actual game like developers and like the concept artists, like all these people that have put their heart and soul into this game were just being like destroyed, and it's not fair on them as well. So yeah, no, it was really upsetting. And it did tarnish the game a lot for a lot of people, and people still refuse to play.
Blows me away that the fallout from all that stuff always affects the people who you know that are around the edges that love it and all those, which is really sad. Yeah. You talked about having a lot of you know haters and all that sort of stuff, and people you know trying to undermine you. How do you deal with that? Like personally, you know, do you let it get to you? How do you cope in those sort of things when you're really getting trolled by people and it's just you know it's forcing you to do things you don't want to have to do and all the rest of it?
Yeah, I think definitely like different days affected me, like how I've been feeling and like in myself as well. Like, and I think this is something that I'm so passionate like to talk about. It's like why bring others down when usually we're our own worst enemies? Like we're always talking shit about ourselves and like putting ourselves down, and then you have someone else that does it. It's like, bro, I'm already doing that. Like, you know, you're like, yeah, I know. Like, bro, like it's my job, not your job. You know. So no, I make light of it. I would always try and make light of it, but yeah, no, it does get to you. It definitely does. And I think you just got to, like, I was lucky enough I have a community that supports me. So, like, that community support helps me kind of get through those days where it was really bad. But, like, talking about, like, Final Fantasy now, like, I don't have to deal with that anymore. I haven't had one toxic person in the community. Yeah, and everyone's been so loving and so welcoming. There's no like egos, even in like the content creation spaces. I've noticed like I'll have like really like huge content creators like coming into my content, my streams, and just hanging out, and I'm just like, bruh, why are you here? But like with the Overwatch like content creators, are a bit more like in their own little circles, own bubbles, and everything. It's very very hard to like break through and create those friendships. So like even in not even just the viewer like community side, even in the like streamer side of things, it was a lot easier to kind of break through, and everyone was really, really welcoming.
It's really interesting. Like, is that a human evolution thing, or is it you just got lucky in the community now, or is it a reflection of, you know, somehow that culture that was, you know, filtering through into the community?
I got my take on why the Final Fantasy community specifically is really good, because for me there isn't another one like it. I've played a lot of games, and a lot of MMOs, and it really comes from the passion of the team behind it. So basically, when it first launched, it was terrible. Like, it was a really bad game. And then they did A Realm Reborn. They basically relaunched it, and Yoshi P. Like, everyone knows the guy. Everyone loves the guy that made it. And it's kind of similar with Super Smash Bros. Melee. It's the guy, there's one singular guy behind it that really drives the community. And that's another good example of Super Smash Melee community, which is a game that came out in 2001. Is one of the most passionate communities and friendly communities that you can get online anyway. So I think it's as a reflection of the people that builds it from the start, and the community managers and the developers, rather than a human evolution at all. Because there's new games coming out all the time that have the most toxic communities humanly possible. And a lot of them are centered around first-person shooters, I'm going to say.
I think that's what I was about to get into, is like the type of game that Final Fantasy is. It's PvE. People work together to kill the in-game bosses, right? Where like Overwatch, you're killing each other. So it's like you're trying to work in a team to, like, you know, verse another player. Where like Final Fantasy, you know, we work together and to not hurt each other, we heal each other, we look after each other to then get that end goal together. Where Overwatch was like, who's better than the other person? You know, I'm better than you, and then these egos form and all this stuff. Not saying there are some like egotistical people in Final Fantasy, and I've come across that. And that's just a given. It's just people's personalities, right? They're very competitive, and that's okay. But the toxicity isn't really like as strong as, say, in Overwatch, or like you said, other like FPS games.
So you guys are really seeing it, you know, games. Obviously there was always studies done and talk around
video games impact kids.
Video games, kids, movies, all that sort of stuff. You know, violent movies and how it affects children and society and all the rest of it. So, but what you guys are saying is, if you've got a game that nurtures more teamwork and nurtures the more positive sides of competition, rather than just putting everyone in there and it's every man for himself sort of thing, you sort of do have some experience that does nurture a different community.
That's exactly right, and there are games that reflect the real world more than anything. The most perfect financial system in the world is in a video game. It's called EVE Online, and it's completely not run by the developers anymore. It's run like the economy of any country, for example, or the world. And it's been made perfect. So you give the players to build these tools, and basically the way in which you give it to them is kind of how it's going to reflect their behavior. So if you've got a game developed towards killing people, they're not going to go kill people themselves, but they'll have more toxicity within that game. Whereas like EVE Online, they're really conservative, because ships can cost $50,000 real, for example, and they have wars and things like that, but they've got their own communities, and it really just reflects the real world, I think.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. You should watch it up. The biggest EVE Online fight is the most expensive one of all time. I think it's something like $400,000-500,000 real dollars were spent, like in this war that went for multiple days.
That's insane.
Yeah, it's just dumb money. Like, it's just stupid money, and but they've got a really nice community too. Like, they're really welcoming. And they're playing with like stupid amounts of money, whereas you have a game like Overwatch or Modern Warfare or like these for shooter games, where all they've got is this rank, and it means nothing, and it gets
the rank.
And they're just toxic, horrible kids.
Yeah, surprisingly, a lot of the really toxic ones are actually like under
It's
18.
getting younger and younger too. I'm getting called
funny.
out by kids that are younger and younger than I ever have before, and
Yeah.
they're saying worse and worse things.
Yeah.
But I guess, does every generation say that? That's what I was gonna ask.
Yeah.
Because like, I'm 25 now, right? So, and now I'm complaining about 12-year-olds. Is that just something that happens?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think so. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So
Every
they're just gonna
generation's
be in
worse than the
different
last.
Yeah.
But every generation's better than the last. So it's
True.
It's one of those. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. But it's interesting, you know. But it's always been, and I just think once you get to a certain age where you start to see it, I think there's always that stage, that under eight, that teenage years where it's always there. And when I was growing up, it wasn't online games, but it was, you know, bullying and toxicity in other areas, whether it was
Like
in just
sports.
normal sports, whatever it was, right? So
Yeah.
it's always there. It's just where
Yeah.
it's just
Where's it getting dished
yes,
out to?
yes. And how
Yeah.
you deal with it, because everyone has to deal with it at some point in some way. You know, everyone deals with either directly involved in it or standing on the outside watching it or hearing about what everyone's got to deal with it at a certain level, and it's just everyone has to work out their way through it all.
Well, I want to grab both your takes then, based off the bullying side of things, and it being dished out, is the rate at which it can be dished out now, and what do you think that means for people moving forward? Because toxicity that we are copying on Twitch is enough, but it's only going to get faster and faster, and especially in shorter form content, and virality being higher than ever.
Me?
Yeah. Yeah, you.
I look.
Sarah?
Like I said, I think it's always there, and I think what you've got to be able to do, and I think Sarah touched on it earlier. She's her online, but she also has to get away from it as well, and I think that's really, really important. How you separate yourself from it, or from the online, personality.
Yeah,
versus the real you and who that really is. And if they're the same person, then great, and you understand who you are and you understand yourself. But finding that sense of self and really understanding it and being really comfortable in it is really, really hard. And you grow into that over time, and you build your perseverance up, and you build those scars that protect you and all the rest of it over time. So at a young age, it's hard, but you've just got to be able to pull yourself out of it and make sure you've got the right people around you. You know, and I think that's always the really critical thing in life, is making sure you've got the right people around you. So if you've got the people around you that, are supportive of you and supportive of what you want to do no matter what it is, then that's great. But if they're in any way not, then you got to ditch quick.
Right,
ditch and run quick is my view with people.
Yeah.
Once they show a side that is not what you want
Not
to see.
forgiving, not even a 2-chance. Not a 2-chancer.
No.
I'm a 2-chancer. I'll give you a second chance.
No.
There you go.
I think when it comes to certain
It depends on the severity, right?
personality traits.
Sure. Okay, that's
Ditch
fair.
and run.
Sure. Yeah. Okay, that's fair. I
That's
think
my
I was
view.
just trying to make it more black and white, but it's not.
It never is.
It's never is.
No.
No.
It's always grey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the problem with life. It's always grey.
It's always great. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, it's like that I was saying, like you become like the people you spend the most time with. Like the 5 most people that you spend the most time with are the people that you become most like. So like if you're spending your time with 5 alcoholics, you're gonna be the 6th. Like if you're spending time with like 5 like fitness like gurus, you're probably gonna then become a fitness guru. Like it's just that's like, who we spend time with, and like we learn from each other and we pick up different
really interesting.
traits and
That's
everything.
the first
And you've got to seek out who you want to be like as well. You've got to seek those people out.
Yeah.
If you want to be an alcoholic, it's not hard to find them. But if you want to be a fitness guru, if you really want to be a fitness bod, there's no point hanging around at the pub with the alcoholics, right? You've got to get to the gym and find the people you want to deal with. And that's the same with everywhere in life. If you want to be really, really good at business, there's no point hanging around non-business people. There's no point hanging around with the guys who hang around at the school if they're not doing it, And so you've got to seek out who you want to be like. You've got to find those mentors, those positive people, and you've got to be with them, because it's exactly true. The people you hang around with is who you become, and if you got the wrong people. And then there's also the stories about, you look at Elon and Bill Gates and all these guys, Steve Jobs. Not necessarily the nicest people in the world. How many mates have they got? How many really cool, good friends have they got? Not a hell of a lot, because they don't collect people, they don't collect friends, because that doesn't get them anywhere. It doesn't help them. And most of the time, they're never going to be as smart, there's never going to be as successful. It drags them down a level. You've got to be pitching above your station as much as you can, because that's the only way to move forward.
Only way to keep stepping up.
No, I fully agree.
The only way to keep stepping up is to keep stepping up, and the guys around you, if they're not continually stepping up, then you're gonna
they're keeping you down.
Or you're gonna drop them anyway, because you're gonna move past them.
True.
Yeah.
Well, that's really interesting, because that's something I needed to hear today. That's something I've been thinking about all week. You both hit the nail on the head there. That's just weird. It's just weird to put things into the universe. I've been speaking about this for a couple of weeks, Sarah. But there's been quite a few things happening to me that I haven't even asked for, asked personally, outside myself. It's just I thought this happened, or I got to speak about this, and that was one of them. Who you hang around with, and who you spend your time with, especially because I find that I use Twitch more. And I just wanted, before we wrap it up at the end, probably the last topic we touch on is, for me, I use Twitch a lot when I'm depressed. It's not a healthy place for me to be. So I wanted to get your take on Twitch and mental health.
No, I think Twitch is definitely a comfort place, for people, because that's essentially what I'm doing. I'm creating the safe community that people can come to when they are feeling down, or they feel lonely, or they just feel like they want to be heard. I think that is one of the biggest things. It's they can talk into a chat and people are gonna respond to them. The streamer might talk to them, and then they feel less alone, just right there. And they're hey, maybe I'm not so alone because I have these people, right? So no, it is definitely a comfort place, 100%. Even just to have something on in the background, if someone's getting really lost in their own thoughts and overthinking, just having something on that's live and they could potentially interact with, is a huge distraction. From their own overthinking and everything. So no, I think there are a lot of people that turn to Twitch when they are feeling down.
Because I feel it can be, for me, it can be a bit self-indulgent sometimes. Sometimes I spend too much time on Twitch, and I'm sure it's Instagram for other people, and it's TikTok for some people, and but for me, it really is Twitch. It's because you do get to be heard. You get to be. I mean, I've been streaming it 3 in the morning, or 4 in the morning on an old account, really indulging lately.
Oh my god,
a real degenerate at the moment. So no, it's just interesting to see if you've seen that in other creators, or
so people that are streaming to cope with their own depression. Is that what you're saying? Yeah. Well, yes. I mean, I feel I was one of those people too. Where I would stream to distract myself from my reality and from what's happening around me, and then I could make this new world online, essentially, and this new friends and new everything. But I chose to kind of still be myself, as you know, Sarah Jane. That's my real name. It's not a persona. It's me. It's literally me. Where I didn't, I could have gone down the path of being someone completely different if I wanted to. So I know a lot of people do that to disconnect themselves from their real life. But mine was more for it's so hard to kind of pinpoint it. It's just, what can I create that can help people though as well? I think me being able to help people made me feel like I had more purpose and that I brought more meaning into my own life. So maybe that's something that other people get as well. You know, if I can go online and help at least one person today, that might actually help with my own depression and my own struggles and
That's something
everything.
that's definitely been the case for me. Like I've done charity streams, or even not to that extent, just like someone has been having a really rough one. And one thing I've learned from streaming is there is someone always at any given moment having it way worse than I am. And because they do tell you about being a small creator, but they usually tell you what's going on in their lives, and you come to know what's going on in their lives. And there's someone that always has it worse. So sometimes it's easy to justify it as you're doing them a service, instead of kind of realizing that it's also an escape as well at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, I think sometimes it can be really hard though when you have a lot of people like talking about their own life and like what they're going through, and then it can also impact the streamer like in the negative like spectrum, because it's like, man, like there's just so much negativity today like around me, and it's really hard to like kind of entertain positively like
That's
when there's
true.
a lot of negativity happening.
That'd be really hard to listen to at times, and particularly if people start trying to outdo their.
Oh, I've had that before. There's trauma dumping, and they're trying to outdo each other, and it's
just trauma dumping.
It's a shocker.
And that's hard, because you have to say like, you know, I hope you're okay. Like you acknowledge it, but you have to try and just like cut it off, or like that's when you have like your mod team come in and help you as well, and say, you know, let's like, you know, either thank you for sharing that with us, or like, you know, we're here for you. Like let them be heard. But we're going to, you know, let Sarah get back to what she's talking about on stream. Like, you know, I'm talking about getting mounts in Final Fantasy or something just like irrelevant to what they've just brought up in the stream.
Again,
yeah. Because like that's the thing. I think I always want the stream to be positive. Like I want it to be a happy place, not a trauma dump place. So it does get hard when people do that. But yeah, mod teams, just knowing how to like acknowledge it, let them be heard, and then just be like, okay, we're now going to carry on and like do this. Yeah.
I think we're getting towards the end, but do you want to shout out your mod team, because they seem really important?
Lucy does so much for me, honestly. Like I couldn't do it without her. She does so much. Tron has been there for so long. Sinful's been there for so long. My good friend Mochi and Sinful, they're just an amazing team of people. Honestly, they're always there for me, and if I need help, I know I can just reach out to them.
What have you got coming up in the next week, month, year?
Good question. Yeah, that is a really good question, actually.
What do you want people to know that you're doing?
I know. Okay, yeah. Well, essentially, I create content for Final Fantasy. I'm diving more into like the creative side of it, because I'm trying to think of, okay, like what am I good at? I'm good at like being creative, like creating things, and there's a whole aspect in Final Fantasy that is like your housing, your glamour. So I've been diving into like the glamour system a lot. I've been creating my own like glamour videos over on YouTube, where it's showcasing like the themes. So I did like a dark glamour theme. I really enjoyed creating that, because I do enjoy video editing and like creating stuff outside of streaming. And then just consistently streaming Final Fantasy. We're building a really solid like community at the moment, where people can like get together, raid together, because I know that's a big problem people are facing on Materia, is that they're worried that they're not going to be able to find parties for people to do like the higher end content together. So my goal is to bring those people together and try and help them create these parties that they can clear content with, because that's probably one of the main concerns, I think, with the OCE data center.
That's why I haven't been there yet.
So I'm trying to help with that. Yeah, well, come and join us. I've just started giving, so we have like a whole category in our Discord where we will communicate, like, you know, when are people free, what roles do you play, what have you cleared, and just literally early stages of that now, just getting people together and acknowledging who's interested, because there's still people that are leveling as well that are interested, that they haven't got to max level yet. So there's a mixture of people, and I'm excited to get people to do that, to do that, get people together, and then always just running like competitions, glamour competitions, going to be doing a G-Post competition in Discord as well, which I'm excited about. We also want to do a climb of Kugane Tower. Who can do it the quickest?
Sounds fun.
Would be really fun. Mount farming, treasure maps, just like that's what I love about Final Fantasy. It's all community, and that's what I feel like I kind of specialize is bringing people together, doing this really cool stuff. Like, you know, you don't have to play Final Fantasy by yourself and struggle through it. Like, come and join a community where you can enjoy it, and we all help each other out. Like, people are experts in different areas, and it's really cool to see people like help each other out.
And what days a week do you stream?
I stream every day but Mondays and Thursdays.
There you go. And time?
7 p.m. to like 12 in the morning or 12:30. Sometimes 1, depending on what we're doing.
Well, we'll wrap it up there. So that's episode 3
Thank you.
of the Stepping Up podcast. Sarah, thank you so much for being our first guest and dealing with that.